Okay, I have had the DJI Mavic Pro for about a month now, and here are some things that most DJI Mavic owners and probably DJI themselves won't tell you. So the Mavic Pro, super cool drone. I was so excited when I bought it. So let's start the list of things that don't quite work the way that you'd want them to for a $1,000 drone. Issue number one is really bad obstacle avoidance. There are countless videos on YouTube where you can check this out and watch the Mavic fly itself directly into obstacles over and over and over again. Roll the clip. So issue number two is really bad customer service and customer support. So I don't actually have firsthand experience with this because when I crashed the Mavic Pro, I did a little bit of research. Then I started to find out that a lot of people that had sent their drones in got drones back with different serial numbers than the one that they actually sent. DJI is a Chinese company, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it seems like that contributes to a very long delay time in terms of getting your drone fixed and getting it back. And DJI sometimes just doesn't provide the best customer support. That's what I found from my research. Again, I've got no firsthand experience with this, but those are the factors that drove me to fix the drone myself rather than send it in to DJI. So another issue is their firmware. It's just a buzzword that they've used to replace the word software. And what I wish I would have known before I did my last update on this was that even though their app and their software is brilliant when it's working, when it's not, it can cause a lot of problems. So the last update that I did actually caused my video feed to be terminated from the drone to my iPhone while it was connected to the controller, which means that I could fly my drone, the drone could see, but my iPhone couldn't receive anything and I couldn't record any video. So it turns out that this can be fixed by rolling back the DJI software to a previous version. It's super difficult to do, and while the software rollback worked on my drone, it wouldn't work on my controller. So I had this big problem that I had to solve, and it took forever to get it sorted out. So on a more positive note, one of the things that I wish I would have known about this drone is how robust the hardware actually is. So if you look at this, you can see the gimbal kind of shaking around, and when I first bought it, I thought that that was because of how delicate the gimbal is. And don't get me wrong, the gimbal is fragile. But after disassembling it, I've realized how much engineering has gone into this thing. This is an incredible piece of equipment. And that shaking actually comes from the way that it's mounted to the drone itself. It's mounted in such a way that it kind of hangs on this platform that's connected to rubber bands. It eliminates a lot of the vibration that comes from the drone while it's flying. It's an awesome setup, and the hardware is really impressive. Okay, so the other thing that I wish I would have known, and it's this feature that DJI has built into their products called Return to Home, or RTH. So let's see, I'm gonna show you this. Actually, I can't because my phone that I'm filming this on is also the controller. Here's how RTH works. So before you actually take off with the Mavic Pro, it will record the GPS coordinates of where you took off from. So if anything goes wrong while the drone is in flight, it will return back to that spot. So I knew this when I bought the drone, but I hadn't really looked heavily into how this works. And it turns out this causes a lot of crashes for a lot of pilots. And this is something that I found as I was researching what could have caused my crash. So in a nutshell, this is how RTH works. So if something happens when you're out there, you lose connectivity to your controller, or something goes wrong with the app, or the drone senses something else and it can't connect to the controller, it will come back to the spot that it took off from. Before you take off though, you have to set the return to home altitude, which basically tells the drone if it's flying off around in that field somewhere and it has to come back, before coming back, it will fly to an altitude preset in your return to home settings that you're supposed to set every time you take the drone off. So here's the issue with that. So new pilots will see their drone start to fly off without them actually controlling it. That probably means that the drone has lost connectivity to the controller and it's initiating this return to home sequence. The problem is, if there's trees or power lines around where you're flying and your return to home altitude hasn't been set higher than those objects and your return to home sequence initiates, your drone will fly back to that initial coordinate and hit every tree in between. So you have to be sure to set your RTH altitude to an altitude that's a lot higher than your surrounding objects. Now, like I said, my crash happened so fast that I couldn't respond to anything, but I have a sneaky suspicion that the return to home feature from my previous flight was still logged in with my device before I took off in the mountains. So my guess to what happened with my crash was that my drone took off, there was a connectivity issue between the drone and my controller, and it automatically went to the last GPS coordinate that was logged for a return to home, probably trying to make its way to that initial heading, which was 40 miles away. So the return to home function, it's a big freaking deal. This is $1,000 drone. I don't know whether my crash was due to pilot error or not. It happened so fast, so quickly. I really have no way of knowing for sure, but my hunch is maybe it has to do with the return to home feature. So that's something you got to be super aware of before you buy this, as well as the other things that I mentioned. So despite the buggy software, besides the poor obstacle avoidance, besides all that stuff, the thing that I wish I would have known the most before buying the DJI Mavic Pro is that it is indispensable. Yeah, it might be $1,000, but it's $1,000 that will get you $1 million shots. Once you get the Mavic Pro, your videos will never be the same. So if you're a YouTuber and you spend a lot of time outside and traveling, you need one of these. You just have to be really, really careful with it. If you do a lot of stuff outside, get yourself a Mavic Pro. You can thank me later. And also, here's another thing. This is something just to keep in mind if you haven't bought a Mavic Pro, but you're about to. 1, you should buy the Mavic Pro through the link in this video. Helps my channel out and it doesn't cost you any more if you're buying off of Amazon. Number 2, if you're buying the Mavic Pro in the dead of winter, be super crazy, awesomely patient before you fly it for the first time, because I've found that it doesn't fly super well in the freezing cold. Also, your iPhone or iPad is not going to do very well in the freezing cold, and in the freezing cold, you're gonna tend to be in a hurry because you're uncomfortable, and you've really got to take your time with this thing to learn how to use it properly. So DJI has made this drone in such a way that it's really easy to pick up, plug it in, and fly it. So you really don't have to know what you're doing to be able to fly it and feel like you know what you're doing. But you don't. You don't know what you're doing. So I would say whatever you're getting this drone for, whatever the purpose is, get the drone with plenty of time between now and the wedding you're gonna shoot or the trip you're gonna go on. Make sure that you can shoot in the area that you're planning on using this. Because I have a friend who knows somebody that bought one of these things for a trip to Thailand. And Thailand doesn't allow drones at all, so he couldn't even take it. Not funny, that's tragic. But gee whiz, guys, at the end of the day, you need one of these. They're so cool. So I think that's all we're gonna do for today. So if you appreciated this video, please subscribe to my channel. Also, give this video a thumbs up, and a big one, leave a comment in the comments, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll see ya.